Good afternoon, Brian Norcross here with your mid-afternoon tropical update on Hurricane Isaias. It is changing a bit this afternoon. It's made a wobble to the left. Let's take a look at it first of all on the Bahamian radar, and I'll locate it here for you. And take a look just to the northwest of Andros Island, and it's up in here, appears to be the center of it. Now, this band here is just an outer band that is still going through Nassau right now, where the strongest, looks like the strongest weather might be out there, not especially associated with the center. Now, what's happened is, as it tracked up over Andros, it's gotten sort of disrupted by probably the landmass related to Andros. And of course, we've been talking about the unfavorable atmospheric conditions that have made the left side of it have almost no weather at all. And all of the bad weather is over here on the right side. This is, of course, what we're looking at here is from the Bahamian radar system. So we're able to see the weather over the Bahamas really close up. Everything is rotating this way. So what's over Nassau right now is going to rotate north into the Berry Islands. What's over here in the southern end of Eleuthera is going to rotate north, and these strong cells here over Abaco are going to rotate up toward Marsh Harbor and Green Turtle Key and the areas of Treasure Key, areas on the north side there of Abaco. But all that bad weather is going to stay over there. It's these outer bands here that are rotating into southeast Florida. And even though there you can see this is right at the edge of the Bahamian radar, we can look at our radar here out of Miami, and we can see that very strong band that's coming through right now. I'm recording this just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon here on Saturday, and this just came through Miami Beach, and you can see how fast it's moving. So very strong gusts just about to come into Fort Lauderdale right now. Strong gusts, brief heavy rain, and then it goes on by. There's so much dry air out there that after it goes on by, the sun may come out. But we do see there is more moisture back here offshore. So as the center of the hurricane gets closer to us, we're going to start seeing more and more here in South Florida, southeast Florida, outer bands from the storm. Here you see on the satellite, there's that band that we saw on the radar. It's right there. See that? That's just an outer band in the circulation, the general circulation that would be spiraling all the way in if it wasn't so dry down in here. It would kind of come around like that. If there wasn't so much dry air here, the hurricane is kind of trying to force itself into a bunch of dry air, and that's why the left side doesn't have anywhere near as much activity as over here on the right side. Here you see the 2 o'clock advisory. Winds estimated, the highest winds estimated in some of those bands near the center, 75 miles per hour. The pressure is up a little bit from its lowest pressure, 990, and moving to the northwest at 12 miles an hour. So northwest brings it up in the general direction of perhaps Palm Beach County-ish, in that direction. Now, a lot can happen. As we saw, it just recently wobbled left. Maybe it'll wobble right. When we look at the cone, I want you to remember where that is there, right on the northwest side of Andros Island. So there you can see on the satellite. See it right there? That's where the center is at this moment, and then we'll see how that corresponds to the cone. Main thing for Miami-Dade and Broward County to remember is, unless this part of it here were to come like that somehow, we wouldn't get that. We're going to get kind of these leftovers here on the left side. But further north, up the state of Florida, we'll see more. Here's what's going on, as we've been talking about. It's still there. All this dry air here is being pushed into the storm, and that is forecast to continue. The thing is, after it now moves past Andros Island and gets up in here, it's getting over the Gulf Stream with very warm water. So the thinking is that warm water in the Gulf Stream, it could be a strengthening effect, counteracting some of that dry air. So that's why the National Hurricane Center is thinking that this may actually intensify just a little bit. Okay, so locating it, you see, remember it was kind of over in here on that, based on what we could tell from the satellite. So looks like it's a little bit farther to the left. Now the cone kind of automatically adjusts with the new update from the Hurricane Center, so we'll see. But the forecast is for an 80-mile-an-hour storm this evening to be somewhere near Bimini or to the east of Bimini is the idea, on a trek like this in the general direction of Palm Beach County or maybe the Treasure Coast, something like that for the center. And as we saw, the weather on this side, not very much. The weather on this side, quite a lot. So going forward with the cone up through the state of Florida, you see, of course, that the Central Florida coast sticks into the cone as it has. That's why there are many more warnings up that way. And it would have to kind of hug this side of the cone to bring some strong weather into Broward. And that's why there's a hurricane watch, just in case it really wobbles to the left and it comes over like this. And some of those bands kind of come around the left side of the storm. That's why the hurricane watch is in Broward, and all of us could get these bands coming through with winds over 40 miles an hour, thus the tropical storm warning for coastal Miami-Dade and all of Broward. So here are the watches and warnings that are in effect, starting from the bottom here. The green areas, that's West Dade and South Dade. So that's the farthest from the center of the hurricane. That's why the thinking there is it's less likely. So just a chance of getting some winds gusting over 40 miles an hour. Tropical storm watch means a chance, possible winds over 30 miles an hour. In the yellow, tropical storm warning, that's all of Broward and coastal Miami-Dade. That means expect tropical storm winds gusting over 40 miles an hour. In other words, when one of those bands comes in off the ocean, it's more likely to still have the 40 or 50 mile an hour gusts with it when it gets to the coastal sections, but they're likely to die out in Dade by the time they get inland. Rest of Broward, metropolitan Broward, is closer to the center. If it comes up in here, that's why the warning is in effect for Broward. The hurricane watch is just for the coastal sections of Broward, just in case if the hurricane were to take a track, something like that. Palm Beach County, hurricane warning all the way up the coast, up to past Daytona Beach and St. Augustine. That's because that sticks out into the cone, and it's much more likely that with the storm going that way that they're going to get these kinds of winds. So to really time it out based on the National Hurricane Center advisory, this is their estimate and what it'll be at 6 o'clock this evening. You notice the tropical storm force winds forecast to just be moving over the coast at that time. The orange area out here, that's the hurricane force gusts. That's where the strong gusts are, over 75 miles an hour. And in this red area here near the center, that's the hurricane force winds. Notice with the storm moving in this direction, all of the bad weather is on the other side. The worst weather is on the other side of that center line. Okay, that's 6 p.m. So the thinking is that the winds will start to be picking up late afternoon into early evening. Here we go later on now up to midnight, and notice that the center is moving by offshore. We don't know if it's going to be there or it's going to be there, of course, but the idea is in timing, moving by offshore. Still the possibility of some tropical storm force winds affecting Broward. Looks like Miami-Dade would generally be out of it, although not completely. This isn't absolute, these lines here, but approximately. And then moving through the overnight, it moves north. The winds here come around to the west and northwest, and that's off the land. There'll be lower winds by that time. And then moving on up the coast, and you can see how close those hurricane force gusts come to the coast. That's why they have this hurricane warning in effect. But tomorrow will be the day that points north get the worst weather. In terms of the models, the consensus model, the average of the best hurricane models, keeps it offshore, but you notice it is a little bit too far offshore as a starting point. So you probably have to move that line a little bit this way, and that's why the Hurricane Center's cone is a little bit that way, and then they pick up the model going on up the coast, including the Carolinas, including all the way up the Delmarva and the Jersey Shore and so forth. The storm is expected to be weakening at that time, but this is still a healthy storm, and So there are concerns on up along the beaches, on up into the northeast. So we'll continue to monitor what's going on as far as Miami-Dade and Broward County goes. We're feeling good about this. The storm is not well developed on the west side, but as you know, things are not absolute with hurricanes, so we have to continue to monitor it, but it does look like the worst of this will arrive in the late afternoon to early evening and through the evening, and then in the overnight hours in Miami-Dade and Broward, the winds are letting up and the storm is moving by to the north. All right, we'll see you back here later on this afternoon, and we'll see you on Local 10 News. Local 10 News always available on local10.com for every newscast. We'll see you then.